Buongiorno.
Hi. Good morning.
So tell me your thoughts on 2018 and 2019. You know, I've tasted a lot of 18s from Bulgaria and from the coast, and it's a much more balanced, cooler year. And what were your thoughts for Grattamacco?
My thoughts is quite really personal tasting thoughts, because I like this kind of vintages. I like more the classic vintage than the powerful one. Okay, 2016 is a powerful and elegance at the same time, so it's the best. But anyway, for example, if I had to compare 18 and 15, I could have some tricks, because probably I would prefer 18 for this freshness, for this also for me more longevity, because of the acidity, of the preservation of the acidity in the wine. Definitely 18 has been a vintage where who worked very well in the vineyards made the difference. And definitely who has this kind of genius loci, as the Latins say, that at the end is the terroir. You could make the difference in that case, because you have kind of more resilience against environmental stress that anyway were not so important like I heard. Because yes, definitely we had a very humid spring, a lot of rains till since April to June, and usually when you have this situation, even though you have a hot summer with no rains, you have a lot of wet conditions in the vineyards. So if you work well, or better, if you had worked well during the spring season, you can afford this humidity with no problems. And I speak in really awareness, because we are organic. So you understand. And actually, we don't have any health conditions problem in the grapes in Montalcino, because we have also in Montalcino. I had to say we had some problems, but not here, because in Montalcino during July and August we had some more rains. Definitely in Bulgaria there were really nothing. So what happens? It happens that definitely you have this more growing of the berries, and the skins resulted in thinnest situation. So that's actually the classic situation, in the sense that you have a slower ripeness, because you have to wait, and you can wait because you don't risk to have these overripe, over matured aromas and tasting. Anyway, we started very early with the Merlot, the 27th of August, because the heat conditions have made a quicker ripeness for some vineyards, especially the early varieties. But then we finished quite late. If you consider the trend, we finished the 4th of October. That for me, when we finish in October, you can consider a classic vintage. Actually, we finished with a Vermentino that is quite weird to say, but our Vermentino is harvested and fermented in a different way. So we wait a lot before the picking. But and what was the blessing? The blessing was the last 10 days. of September, because we had quite good rains at the around the 20th of September. That could have been a problem at the time, but fortunately, a lot of north wind came. And this situation happened also in 2008. I remember.
How interesting! I was going to ask you about that.
In 2008, we had a very hot starting between August and September, and then there was a very huge decrease of temperatures because of this wind that actually refrained the ripeness, and so we had time to wait and not to hurry up for the shrinking. And in 2018, that happened at the end of the last week of September. So what we did was to go into the vineyards and took away a lot of leaves around the grapes, around the Cabernet Sauvignon and Franc. That were the last two, and the Vermentino to be picked. And so the wind made his work, to keep it dry. Sunny days, perfect. So in 10 days we had this wonderful maturation of the tannins and the kind of not increasing of the sugar, because of these cold temperatures, no. And that was really the blessing of 2018.
Yeah, you can taste it in the wines, like you said. They're very classic and very Cabernet, and they have this freshness of acidity and fine tannins. And then there's a little bit of like Cabernet herbaceousness, which is really nice. How would you compare 19? That was slightly warmer, right?
Yeah, 19 has been slightly warmer, even though we had good rains anyway during the spring, but not so much to start that process of increasing of the berries, of the volume of the berries more than normal. So at the end was a kind of classic in the trend that we are having in the last years. And at the end, the sanity was perfect. The balance was good between the sugar, the tannins, the alcohol, because that's the problem sometimes.
Yes.
So it was easiest, definitely. It was easier than 2018.
Yeah. So you think it's a step up from 18?
As an impact, no? Yes.
Yeah, more fruits.
But it depends by what is your tasting, because probably if I taste 18 and 19, I finished in a dinner. Probably I finished better than 18.
Yeah, it's more refined.
It's more. This kind of weakness, if you want, it helps to be drunk.
Yes.
But at the end, it's not weakness. No, it's a kind of, I don't know. We can call it elegance. We can call it finesse. But depends by the personal tasting that one wants us. But anyway, there are different vintages. For me, they are both good vintages. Probably 19 is more affordable in the sense of standard consumers, no? That they expect also a kind of opulence, if you want,
yes,
as a direct impact of the wine. 18 probably is more for more connoisseurs of the wines that are looking for something that is quite unique in his conditions, and because 19 has very common things with 15, 12.
Yeah, I was thinking that's exactly what I thought. With the 19s I've tasted from Chianti Classico, I was thinking to myself, well, these remind me of 2015 because of that ripe fruit in the center palate and some nice, nicely framed by the tannins, and a very beautiful fruity wines. So tell me about. It is really interesting. The Grattamacco Vermentino. It's always been like that. It's always been a richer style of Vermentino with more depth and intensity. I like the fact that you haven't changed. I started tasting it, back, it must have been almost in the 80s, I think. What was the first vintage?
Okay, the history of this wine, the first Bolgheri Bianco, the Bolgheri Bianco was 84, because
exactly.
The second winery to be born in Bolgheri in 1977. So Mr. Cavallari, the founder.
Yeah, Cavallari, exactly.
In the 84, we had the DOC, the appellation for the Bianco, for the Rosato, not for the Rosso.
I remember. It's so crazy.
So here there was Trebbiano, and so the first Bolgheri Bianco was Trebbiano, pure Trebbiano, and then the first vineyards of Vermentino went in 86, and still we have it. And actually, it's the oldest vineyards of Vermentino that is in Bolgheri now. So since 88, there was a blend between Vermentino and Trebbiano, and until 2001. In 2001, this wine has begun only Vermentino, pure Vermentino, since 2001. And the use of the oak in the wine has started in that years, around end of centuries, and began of this one. At the beginning, I used to speak with Pier Mario Meletti Cavallari, and he used to tell me that probably at the beginning the use of the oak was too much.
I remember he used a lot of it.
Yeah, they were experimenting and so on. And so by the time Ascoli Massara arrived in 2002, I arrived in 2003, and it takes time to me to understand, to tune up, but definitely we have decreased the impact of the oak, and we still are in that path. I mean, I want to decrease.
I agree.
Again.
It's still very oily, and it has a density to it. And I imagine you pick maybe some of the grapes rather late.
Yes.
And some earlier. But I like that you don't find Vermentino with intensity and density like that. Where it's weird in a way, now that I had forgotten the Trebbiano, it almost has a sort of Trebbiano, density to it. But I really like it. It's always a very has lots of character.
You know what, James? These vineyards are, I mean, especially the old ones, is this, I'm gonna say, top of the hill that is full of white clay. White because it's there's a huge concentration of sodium, because the origin of this soil is from ocean and so on.
Yeah.
And so this kind of intensity of, I don't know, savory character is so strong that we realized that we need this kind of late harvest, at least for a portion of the wine, because we need more alcohol to balance with the sweetness of the alcohol and the creamy that you can have from the barrique. This very quite aggressive savory character. And that's because we make this kind of late harvest, and then we make a kind of maceration in the not so long, 24 hours. And so the wine that is macerated, cryo-macerated, go into the fermentation in the oak, and the other one stay in the stainless steel.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's the mix.
But if you, I had the occasion to taste some 80s of this white, so Trebbiano. Actually, not so. I mean, quite recently, that they were still alive.
I remember they aged well.
You understand that the wine is in its evolution of, if you want, dry fruits expression. but in the mouth, this saltiness, this savory of Trebbiano, this quite natural variety, was so strong, and the alcohol was only 11.5. So Mr. Cavallari told me he used to pick the grapes when the potential alcohol was the same of acidity.
Oh my God!
Because he thought to balance this savory with acidity, but actually it was a synergic situation, and so at the end he was making something with a very long life, but at the beginning was quite a lemonade. So we are enjoying these wines in the last years more than in the early years.
How cool!
But anyway, that is to tell you about the strength of this terroir. That definitely wins over the variety, over the Trebbiano and over the Vermentino. So we need to mild this expression.
Let's talk of Grattamacco 18, which, as you said, is very classic. I think the Cabernet really comes through with all the currants and fresh herbs and
that's why I like this kind of vintages, because I have this really fresh, fruity aromas from the Bordeaux varieties, and then in the mouth I feel the Sangiovese anyway. That I don't smell in the early years. Then in the bottle, by the years, you have this kind of, I used to call it wild Mediterranean expression that in this blend that my opinion comes from the Sangiovese.
But the good thing about the Sangiovese you have, and it must be because of your terroir, but Sangiovese normally doesn't work very well in Bulgari. It's very rustic, It's like it's very reductive too. Puzza, it smells a bit.
I think, I completely agree with you. And if we move on the Bulgarese, we can't have a good Sangiovese in Bulgaria. As we go up, what we have two things. This terroir that helps so much because it is very poor as a terroir, so the Sangiovese is not pushed up in its vigorosity and in its production. And then the climate that I told you before, and actually with the vineyards that we have in Casavecchia is this vineyard that we have at 200 meters southeast of Castagneto. Actually, they are vineyards planted in 98 and 21, so quite good now for the production. At 200 meters, the Sangiovese is at its best here. So
that's really. And no one ever plants Sangiovese. They're always on the bottom. Oh my God!
Yeah, actually, if you speak with the veterans, I call them veterans. I mean, the old guys in Castagneto, no? They were young in the 50s, 60s, and they told me that the good wines at that time were from Casavecchia. So at that time you had Sangiovese and Trebbiano.
Okay.
Only Sassicaia had the
Cabernet.
They had the Cabernet in the hidden vineyards, but in the 50s, the Trebbiano and the Sangiovese was the common. And usually Casavecchia was a kind of I'm going to say the vineyards of homemade wines of each.
Yeah, of course.
Guys.
Yeah, Contadini,
So that's an history clue of how this terroir could be suitable for the Sangiovese. We are planting more Sangiovese over there because we don't want to lose this identity. Yeah. That's it.
So tell me about the Albarello.
Yeah, Albarello was really a great bet for us because this was a vineyard planted by Colle Massari in in 2004. L'Albarello is the Italian for
head pruning.
The head pruning, yes.
Yeah.
And it was something new in Bulgaria anyway. We have these 2 hectares to be planted, and we just went out from the 2003. That was probably the fire blessing that we had by the global warming. And so we were quite concerned about that. And we decided to plant the vineyards to be pruned in this way, not only to make something new, also in the marketing purpose, but also for a technical reason, because this kind of habit of the vine is more resilient to the heat and to the drought, and also to the intensity of the light, because the shadow is, I call the Albarello the democratic way of plantation, because each vine, as they don't have the wires, and you can plant them at the same distance if you want, like we did. This is a set.
What's the density? How many?
The density is not so high. The density is about 4,500.
Okay. Because some people do one by one, and then you have 10,000 vines.
Yeah, that's that. If with 2 hectares, it's really expensive to do something like that, because you have to work only by hands. Also, I'm sure that the vines do much better in drought conditions than your normal vines. They really right? Because they have the roots are more spread out and deeper. Because it's all the old vines in the Rhone or California or places with drought conditions. They function much better. Definitely.
And Spain, cabeza they call it, which is the same as Albarello. They do really well in places like Toro, which is a desert. It's crazy.
Yeah, and that's the reason, because we planted it.
How come you don't do more of this? You should plant another.
We have planted another.
Yeah.
We have planted another hectare in Grattamacco. It's Cabernet Sauvignon and Cabernet Franc. We planted it 4 years ago. So now it's in good condition for production. Because at the beginning we planted Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, and Petit Verdot in this vineyard.
Yeah.
And actually, we have realized that Petit Verdot is not so suitable to be pruned in an Albarello style. And also the wines, because what we do is a picking of all together. We pick the same.
Oh, you do and you co-ferment.
Yes.
How cool! I didn't know that.
That was we do. And Petit Verdot is too late in the ripeness, does not help in this way of doing. And actually, we have also seen that only the Cabernet Sauvignon and Cabernet Franc give a more elegant, a more fine wine. So 18 was the first vintage where we don't use Petit Verdot. So I
see a big. I think it's better.
I think so.
It's so beautiful. I'm just like, wow. And from Grattamacco, you really see, a step up.
Yeah, I believe so much in this wine.
This is the big change in quality, like night and day.
Yeah,
it really is. I didn't look.
Thanks.
I didn't look at my old scores, but it's really huge difference. So getting rid of the Petit Verdot really worked. Complimenti.
Yeah, and the new vineyards that we have planted, we have planted only Franc and Cabernet Sauvignon, just because we have understood that Petit Verdot was not suitable for the vines. So it ferments all together, and then more or less the the process is similar to the Grattamacco.
Yeah.
Only spontaneous, low sulfites, fermentation in these little casks, and so on. That's the story.
Yeah. Okay, listen, I have to get back. I have to do some another Zoom. But thank you so much, Luca, and it was good to talk to you. And exciting to see the big change you made with the Albarello. It's really veramente cambiato tutto.
Thank you, James. Thank you for your time.
Thanks again. Grazie ancora. Ci vediamo presto.
Ciao. Ciao.
Ciao.